Hello and welcome to Crossings Through History. Today we'll be looking at the Pleasant Street grade crossing on the UP Geneva Sub in Maple Park, Illinois. I originally photographed this crossing in January 2016, and at the time they had a pair of older Safetran signals. These were installed by the Chicago Northwestern in the 1980s, and originally had incandescent lights and most likely a Safetran mechanical bell. By the time I photographed these in 2016, UP had upgraded the lights to Electrotex LEDs and 4-inch Rico LEDs on the gate lights. The bell was also a GS Type 2E bell by this point. The original crossbucks were also replaced with newer double-sided ones, but I believe the track signs were still original. Aside from this, the crossing still looked mostly the same as it was originally installed in the 1980s. This style of signal with the short masts and the crossbucks, track sign, and lights so close to each other was pretty commonly used by the Chicago Northwestern during the late 1970s into the early 90s. The DOT number for this crossing is 175020V, and as of 2017 this crossing had only one accident occur at it since 1975, and the total amount of trains per day was 58 according to the FRA, although I believe that number is much lower, probably closer to 30. Here is the relay bungalow in the southeast quadrant. This one was made by Safetran. The grade here is all concrete, as typically used by Union Pacific. Here's a track view looking west at County Line Road and towards Rochelle, Dixon, Sterling, and Clinton, Iowa. And track view facing east towards West Chicago, Wheaton, and Chicago. I made a return visit in August 2019, and by this point the Electrotex LEDs had been replaced with GE dotted LEDs. This seemed to be a trend that Union Pacific was doing on the Geneva Sub. Also by this time, the track sign on the southern signal was replaced with a newer one with the smaller, narrower font, and both gates were also replaced, now having the newer striping with the 4-inch Rico LEDs. On May 6, 2020, I noticed that there was a new bungalow for this crossing sitting in DeKalb, Illinois. And most of the time when you see a new bungalow for a crossing, that means signal replacement is imminent. A visit to the crossing on May 13th showed that conduit was installed all around the crossing in preparation for the installation of new signals and the new bungalow. This was just one of many crossings on the Geneva Sub that got new signals in 2020. Another return visit on May 28th showed that the new signals were installed and fully operational. This was a pretty typical install for Union Pacific these days, with GE dotted LEDs and Safetran frames, Siemens gate mechanisms with the imprinted logo, NEG clear LEDs for gate lights, and so on and so forth. It makes me curious why UP installed GE dotted LEDs on the older signals when they were just going to be replacing them shortly after. This seems to be a trend quite a bit for Union Pacific to slowly upgrade signals over a period of time, but then just to replace them outright shortly after. Here is the new bungalow behind the old bungalow, and also in the southeast quadrant. This new bungalow is made by C&NW and also features a PTC antenna. Another return visit on June 3rd shows that the old bungalow was removed, thus ending the legacy of the old signals at Pleasant Street. And this concludes this look at Pleasant Street. Thank you for watching, and if you'd like to see these pictures and more in full resolution, click the link in the description for the page for this crossing on Mike's Crossing website.